Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Sayen Gates. She is a powerful voice in the world of self discovery, mindfulness, and personal growth. She is a shadow. Shadow coach, shadow work coach, and we'll be talking about a lot of things. She's also a podcast host, a creator, and host of Shadow Corner, and also a community based dollar, and passionate about guiding others through personal transformation, self care, and emotional healing. She has a positive outlook on life, and she blends wisdom, storytelling, and practical insights to inspire growth and self mastery. Welcome to the show, Sai.
Hi, welcome. How you doing?
Very good, very good. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Sayan. And I'm sure not only in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about shadow work, we'll talk about healing, and we'll talk about self empowerment. We'll talk about a lot of things. But before that, let's talk a bit about your background, your journey, Sayan, so that people know who they are listening to.
Okay, so my name is Sayen Gates. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. Uh, I am and was still, so I am and am still a quirky nerd. I like anime. I like movies, cartoons. You name it. I started out as a coach as a way of being able to communicate what it truly means for your authentic self to be brought to the table. But before then, I was a phlebotomist, a medical assistant. I worked in a hospital for about 8 years. And let's see. And the person that you're talking to is someone that's had to do shadow work every single day, consciously and unconsciously. Sometimes through conversation, I would have like epiphanies and awakenings, and sometimes we get those in the midst of normal everyday life. It could be driving down the street. It could be you just walking and then you're just mindlessly doing absolutely nothing and you're not focused on anything. But the main key is just knowing that you're open and you're receptive to what you personally didn't know or what you need to know. But that's like in a short of what I can actually describe myself, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sayan. So quite intriguing from a medical background, if I can say that, to a person, shadow life coach. Means how would you like to help people understand this sort of a transformation of what you were doing? Means how should a common person who will say, listen, I will use my head and I will try and understand. Means how do you what do you tell? They must be asking you questions about these things, Sign. I'm just trying to understand things a bit from the ground, Sign.
Okay, so to understand this, it's an easy concept. So let's break it down to what shadow work is. So shadow work is, in psychology terms, is the exploration that focuses on understanding and integrating the unconscious aspects of oneself. In the spiritual community, it is known as being able to go into meditation and reflect on the things that, whether you unconsciously locked away or the not so nice pieces, and sometimes the good pieces that we hide away because of societal expectations. Sometimes our shadows can be something as simple as us either talking too much. It could also be you knowing that you want to sing, but your parental expectation is they want you to be a doctor, they want you to be a lawyer, they want all these things for you, but they never asked you what you wanted personally. Shadow work starts there. And then most of the time, shadow work does not get brought up until we have like a significant change that happens in our life. Sometimes it could be a death of a family member. Other times it could be you lost your job. Other times it can be as simple as getting in a car accident, not wishing that upon anybody, but like these monumental things usually start to crack on shadow work first, or at least give the invitation for it. Also, another one is like when you lose friends or you lose very close associates, like you have multiple directions that you get this invitation. It's basically an invitation from spirit letting you know that, hey, I was like, now that you're not distracted, I can actually come in now. So in the midst of it, you're trying to figure out, okay, so I thought that I was living authentically on my own. Yes and no, because you have to think about like all the things that you were in. You have to think about all the things that influenced you, not only as a child, but also as a teenager and also as an adult. And then you have to look at all these bits and parts of you and just go down the list of what it is that needs to be healed. If when I'm working with a client, I usually tell them, I was like, okay, so we're going to meditate for a second, but it's not like the normal meditation. We're going to just sit in silence and you're going to think and write down 5 things that you don't like right now. And then that gives their brain to go a lot better. And it also gives them a chance to reflect. I had one client where she was like, she wanted stability in her own life because she had a controlling mother and father. And I said, okay, so I gave her the marker and I was like, okay, so put 3 things on this board that you would want more than anything. And then I would tell her after she wrote those 3, she said her own apartment, her own bank account, and her own way to live. And I said, okay, so what's stopping you? As a shadow coach, my job is to give you back the pen that was taken from you. So, by definition, a shadow coach is someone who asks the deeper question, the one that provides immediate actual feedback based on like the behaviors and the reactions of somebody that may not recognize that they need the work. And sometimes it also gets very detailed. Like, again, back to that client. She's like, she wants her own apartment. She wants her own apartment. I was like, okay, so what's stopping you from it? She's like, my parents hold my bank account. And I said, okay, so what can you do now? Now that you know that this is something that you said out loud. She was surprised because she was able to repeat it more than once. And sometimes you need that sounding board from someone to be able to get those things in order. And I believe right now she's got her own apartment, got a new job, bank account, dating, and she's in college. So in a sense, shadow work is needed. And it can be as small as that. You just have to be willing to accept the invitation that spirit gives you and be able to work out all the kinks in the road.
Absolutely. So, what are the misconceptions about shadow work that you come across for a common person? How should they understand? Okay, and maybe that will help them understand this better through the misconceptions themselves. Right?
So the number one misconception is that shadow work is that one size fits all notion. Remember, I said like meditation, we have mainstream meditation where it's like you're sitting in a corner and you're just saying Om and you're just like relaxed and everything. Sometimes your meditation isn't like that. One person's meditation is like when they sit there and they write and they listen to rap music. Another person's meditation is like, for me, I go roller skating and I have music in my ears, but I'm thinking about what it is that I need to improve for myself. But this is a ongoing process. This is not something that you're going to be able to like put down on the shelf, not you put back on the shelf now that you know what it is. So it's like, that's number one. Your level of meditation is not going to be like everybody else's. That is the number one misconception. The second misconception is thinking that it's going to be a quick moment and you're like, okay, I'm healed, I'm perfectly fine. No. Somewhere along the way in this journey, you're going to have little bumps, hills, and sometimes pitfalls that's going to make you question whether or not that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes it's also going to be where it's going to question, is this even something I should be doing at all? But you have to keep your eye on what you're actually striving for. Like, do you want to continue to be angry all the time? Do you want to continue to be emotionally sensitive and not figure out where it comes from? Are you volume sensitive? Does like people's pitches play a key in how your emotions react to it? Or are you a more reactive person rather than being someone that just sits still because they don't know what to do? This journey in the shadows is going to make or break you. And you have to decide whether or not that this is something that you want to do, or if you can sit in here and still be in the same place you are and not go anywhere. And I think the third misconception when it comes to shadow work is that once you visit that shadow, that you feel like you don't have to visit it again. No, that is wrong. I wouldn't say that's wrong. That is a misconception, because just because the teacher gave you the test the first time and you pass does not mean that he's not going to reevaluate the test and give it to you again in different forms. I've always said that the teacher is always quiet during the test because he wants to see exactly what you learned the second time, the third time, the fourth time, just to double check, because that test is going to be your key to going through the doors that you're asking for. So it may not be the same setting and it may not be the same people, but it will be the same situations. So that way you can figure out or recognize how you've grown and where's more for you to grow. So there's that.
Absolutely, Shayan. Well explained. So, why do we use shadows? God, what is the meaning of shadows here? Shadow is about us.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. So I want to understand: are the shadows good reflection of ours, or are they not so good reflection of ours that they need a lot of work?
So it's a little bit of both. Because, like I said earlier, you have some shadows where it's like you've had to hide a talent of yours, something that you really love to do, but it was shot down by societal normal issues, where it's like some people will consider you weird, or some people would consider you like out of the ordinary because you're not painting inside the lines like everybody else. You're actually going outside the lines. That's why it is more important for you to live your authentic self rather than to live the cookie cutter that you were given. And the shadows can be negative. Some people can have like some things that they haven't talked about. Like I know one of my friends, they had an issue where they were molested as a child, so they don't talk to men. And it took her to go through high school and middle school, high school, and then have to interact and actually getting a job to let her know that not everybody is like the person that you ran into. And, for some people, they'll think that it's like you can get over that type of stuff. No, that type of stuff still carries with you. It's a trauma. So these triggers and traumas still walk with you, whether you try to cover it up or not. And the shadow itself is reminding you not that, oh, this is something for you to hide. It's just saying, this is what I want you to acknowledge. Because this is also a part of you. One thing could be like you're not a person that likes to be people to be in your face when they talk, when you talk. So the number one thing is you're just like you put your hands up when someone gets too close. That's an initial reaction that some people would have, but for you it means something different. And you look at each shadow. You have to imagine each shadow as a bit as a piece to a puzzle. As you're going through life, we constantly give pieces of ourselves to the people that we love, the people that we care about. But in exchange, we end up taking a piece of them and putting it in place of what we've given them. And then that will be the invitation for shadow work. And then you have to look at all these pieces with a fine-tooth comb, because sometimes they're embedded so good that you actually believe that it belongs to you. So like the spirit of fear, but you were very confident back in the day. You were afraid to walk in these doors, but now you're scared out of your mind and you're anxious because you feel like whatever that is you're feeling, or you feel as if like, what is my initial thing? You feel like you're not worthy of it, but you are. So we have to take a fine-tooth comb, get a good magnifying glass, and look at these pieces. See what does not belong to you. If you're a person that was that was very much of a social butterfly, but because of what you've been through, you became antisocial, and you think everybody is like not so good, then you seclude yourself. That's something that's an invitation for shadow work as well. Or that's like in general, that's something that you have to work out for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. And I'm trying to understand some of the things you said very well. That in this whole process of life, we give something to others, and we also take a piece of them also. And sometimes some of these things may not be good at all. Sometimes it may be good, but many times it is not good at all, and it can impact you. It is like a virus which you have picked up and which will stay with you till you eject out that virus out of your life, because it will change your whole behavior, whole personality altogether.
Right. And that also goes into what I'll give you something my grandma told me like a long time ago. She said the company you keep is where what the road that you're gonna walk down. And I
Absolutely.
never understood that until like I got older. And then I realized that what she meant by the company you keep is the people that you hang around. Are they watering your soil, or are they like just hanging out, just waiting on the fruits to grow so they can eat off of it? You have to think about that, because like you have friends, family, associates, and people that are just waiting for you to actually offer the fruit so they can have something to point at when things go wrong. And you have to look at it as, when I am in need, who is the person that I can call on? Or when I'm going through a rough time, especially if being the strong friend means that I always have everybody's back, who can I like lean on? And if you look around and there's no one there, then you've already realized that your soil was never tended. And then you find that your roots are rotted. You find out that someone's been stealing from you this whole time. Like these are, again, this is what and has why spirit gives the invitation early, and then sometimes gives it later on once the issues happen, because spirit wants you to know that in health that you this is not who I built you to be. So we're going to go ahead and go through this step by step so I can get you back to who you were, or get you step by step back to the person that I made you to be. And then go from there and see what blossoms from there, because the people that you had around you, they weren't helping out. They were just wanting to eat off the fruit instead of contribute to it.
Absolutely. A lot of people are sitting on the fence. They just want to see which side, the fruits are growing. They will jump in and jump out as quickly as possible. But then, is shadow work an easy job? It's a very tough job. Sayan, how do you do it? Means it's a tough job, because somebody has gathered so many pieces all through their life from so many places, and you have to pick up those pieces and tell them whether these pieces are actually part of them or not, and they should be thrown out. How do you do that?
So you are correct. Being a shadow coach is not easy because sometimes you my name is Sayen and I am a chronic people pleasing. I'm from a chronic people pleasing family. So my issue is correction was that I used to cater to a lot of people, and then I'd end up losing myself in that. So when I learned that as a coach, you have to make sure that you're giving from the overflow rather than the reservoir. That
Right.
sometimes was not easy, because like as much as I would want to give them the answer of why they feel the way they feel, it's sometimes hard because you're biting your tongue in the back and you feel it's bleeding because you're almost there and I want to help you in that way by giving you the answer, but you won't learn that. So one way that I usually do is like how I did with the young lady. I made her write it down on the blackboard. I let her see the problem, because some people don't really, when you tell them, it doesn't always click. So when they write it down and they actually see it in front of them and they read it out loud, it gives them a sense of, oh, okay, this is not good. I don't like this. And then they go into this rant of saying, so I've let these people manipulate me this whole time. I've let these people do this to me this whole time, or I've allowed myself not to rest because of whatever here. I step in and I'm like, well, now you know. So let's take steps to actually look that in. So me, I work with analogies. So my favorite analogy so far is what when I use is like when I have a client, I will bring a book bag with me, and then I'll bring two book bags, mine and another bag. In that second bag has rocks in them, and then my bag is light, and you can carry it and everything else. So when I give them my bag at first, I'm just like, okay, so imagine this bag as yours. This is what you came with when you entered this world. This is something that represents all of you, bits and pieces. Inside that bag, each pebble has a name on it. It's like grace, understanding, inner knowing, inner healer, like all these encouraging things. But then after a while, when we're walking, I say, okay, now we can switch. And I give you this other bag. You realize that this bag has rocks, coals, twigs, maybe even a little dirt in it. And you're like, what is this? And I'm like, this is the bag of the things that you picked up on your journey that you cannot let go. This represents everybody's problems, things that are not associated with you, things that you felt as if should have been handled a while ago. So you took it upon yourself to handle it when no one else asked you to. And they look at me like, can I get the other bag back? I was like, yeah, after you do the work. So after they're carrying this bag for like over a mile, because like I take them to a park at in my hometown. They're like, okay, I think I've had enough. And I'm like, okay. So we stop and we think about and talk about like, what is it that you noticed about this bag? And they're like, it's heavy and it's difficult. And I feel like the twig is poking me in my side. And I was like, sometimes it happens that way. When we carry other people's stuff, it pokes you in the side. Sometimes it gives you back problems. And I was like, so what is it that you learned from this? It's like, I don't want everybody's problems. I just want to be able to walk my own stuff. I was like, okay, so you ready to switch back bags now? He's like, yes, please. And then he'll take it from me. I was like, that analogy represented exactly what I needed them to understand, especially for those that are like chronic people pleasers, because you don't realize how much you give until you actually experience it. And I know that sometimes telling somebody is not the same thing as showing them. So I feel like showing usually does the trick more than me telling you, hey, I think you have a little bit too much on your plate, and I think that you need to um, back it up 50 feet a little bit. And I do it like I'm a friend that they've known for years, because a long time ago, before I even started Shadow Corner, I wish I had a friend that did the things that I am doing now, because it would have stopped me from a lot of things. I've had influential people in my life, but at the same time, they didn't stay long. It's just like the average notion of you're with somebody for a season or you're with somebody for a lifetime. Only spirit knows. So you have to cherish those moments that you have with people, because you never know how their lessons will incite growth in you.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sign. Wonderful wisdom, and I'm sure a lot of people would I want to learn. There's so much to learn about all these things from you, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to understand about these things from you. Be your client, take your help to either get the best of their shadows or remove the dark shadows of their life. So, what is the best way for them to do so, Sign?
The best, honestly, is just to get started. That is literally the number one fear when it comes down to doing shadow work. It's just trying to get started, because it's like you're trying to clean your house and you don't know where to start. Because the first thing you do is like, you don't want to do the bathroom, you don't want to do the kitchen. So you do the least likely things first. And that's cool. You can start with the triggers. You can start with the traumas. It's totally up to you. Getting started is as simple as writing something down every day, or listening to your favorite music and seeing what memories come up. Because a lot of people, they have what's called their short-term memory as well as their long-term memory can be reacted by certain music, certain frequencies, and then sometimes depending on the environment. If you're so used to being in the house all the time, go out and go to the park, go to another place that like a Starbucks or something. See if that gives you some type of memory recall. And what in that memory did you notice or stood out to you that you didn't notice before when it happened? I'm not trying to change you. That's not what shadow coaching is. I'm trying to get you to understand exactly what your triggers are, what your do's and don'ts, what you will not and will not allow, because those also help you develop boundaries. They also help you develop your voice and live authentically you. And I know that, like I said, we're in a society now where it's like on Instagram or TikTok or anything else, we're trying to either be the next big thing or we're trying to imitate the person that inspires us. But that's not you. You can't be them. You can only be the best you that you can be and move forward. So even writing something a day, or just taking 5 minutes to do like a mental reset every morning. Like when I get out of bed, I don't just jump out of bed and say, all right, let's do this. I take a moment and I breathe, and I do like a whole maintenance check. How does my ears feel? How does my nose feel? How's my breathing? Does my back hurt? Is my ankle killing me? Or ankles? Like making sure that I'm okay first before I step out the door. And if I don't feel okay, then I'll just write it down. And I'll make sure that everything that I need to get done will get done. It'll just be in my time.
Absolutely. There's so much as I said, there's so much to learn from you, and I'm sure a lot of people with will get a lot of wisdom from you, and also will get in touch with you to get their problems solved. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Bye.